So when we set up Coulthursts, one thing that I was very aware of was how little legal support there really is for people who suffer from traumatic brain injury. And I'm absolutely thrilled, James, that we're able to work with you as a high-profile guy who's actually unfortunately experienced a brain injury, but come out the other side, but who clearly cares passionately about brain injury and support for brain injury survivors.
We had no knowledge of where to go for the specialist understanding of what a brain injury is, because it's very difficult as someone who's suffered a brain injury to explain the impacts of it, and then to a lawyer you want someone who actually understands what you're going through and then the implications from taking legal action right through to the sort of the end resolution, and we didn't know where to start to find it. To be honest, we had no knowledge of whether he was the best legal mind on this. It was just actually he listened and communicated in a way that the others didn't.
Was he able to give you the kind of holistic support you required at the time? Was there a delay in the legal process starting?
I think there was a 2-year window between the accident happening and starting legal proceedings and making the decision to start, and we were right at the end of that because it had taken us a long time to get to the point where I admitted I really needed. I felt I was okay. There was so little communication. Months would go past.
Did you feel out of control with the process?
Yeah, we went from feeling okay, we were in control of our destiny, to just we were a pawn being moved around by other people, and that means you have a loss of ownership in what is a hugely personal journey, because it's a journey in those 2 years up to decide to take legal action and the 2.5 years of the legal case.
Did you feel that you were just sort of left in some kind of no man's land?
The legal team were great at everything that involved the legality of it, and they were very good at keeping informed on the communication with the American law firm. Their duty of care stopped with the legal process, and then apart from the normal social concern they would have, but in terms of the practicalities, that was where it stopped, and a lot of it came down to luck. And for me, it sounds terrible to say, the luckiest thing that happened to me was I had an epilepsy with a seizure, and then I had another seizure, and then I got taken to a different hospital, and I saw a neurologist there, but his consultancy room was surrounded by, next office was an endocrinologist and a psychiatrist, and then suddenly they all spoke to each other, and that's when I spoke to him, and he was like, "I need to see a psychiatrist. I think you might be look at depression," and then the psychiatrist said, "You are. I think you are on the interview, the scales and whatever it was." But then the endocrinologist in the room said, "Well, actually, I think the head injury might be affecting the testosterone released." So then it's like, well, actually, so I think we should look at the testosterone levels before antidepressants. And suddenly you're having a neurologist, endocrinologist, a psychiatrist, and me all in the same room. And that wouldn't have happened if I had had a seizure and I ended up seeing, and that was luck.
What is it about Coulthursts that attracts you to work with us?
Well, actually, the biggest thing is, firstly, you guys only do brain injury, so you are the real specialists. Hearing about the number of cases that a lawyer has before they're deemed over of 5 cases, I think that's a hugely important part. And then the real issue that I think everyone who suffers from a brain injury in the family is going to be the budgetary concerns, because you're constantly making choices in life anyway, and then suddenly you have an accident, and then actually therapy comes in, and actually do you weigh off therapy against other bills you have to pay, and then the fact that Coulthursts, the first thing, no win, no fee, so clients don't have to pay anything, and then you help source the best scans, the best rehabilitation, and that's not paid for. So you haven't got that 2-year no man's land until you may be lucky enough to have some settlement, which you can then put into getting the right therapy. And I think the biggest thing is that you guys realise the importance of time. When I was discharged from hospital, the neurologist said, 80% of people with a brain injury get divorced, and where you are in your recovery after 3 years is where you are for life. And I wasn't in a position to be able to choose the best recovery care until 5 years after the accident. And suddenly the Coulthursts, the rehabilitation, you're sourcing the best scans, the best latest treatment, the best therapy from the day you're working with the family is such a huge milestone in terms of, right, actually, you're not waiting till the end, you're getting it done early, and that, I think, will lead to the best outcome. You've explained the point of difference that Coulthursts has in the brain injury legal world, but for you guys, what constitutes a success?
Oh wow, now that is a good question. The compensation is important because it's life planning sometimes, you know, for the rest of these, for the families that we deal with their lives. But that really is only one part of the story. It's more about the quality of life and where we leave that family. You know, have we left it there with the sum of money completely in a very bad way in terms of how they feel about themselves, the situation they're in? Or do we leave them where they're almost sort of excited for the next challenge?
Our job is to try and really support them and make things as good as we possibly can, not just in getting the legal compensation, but for them to rebuild their lives and to work with them. And so that's why I'm passionate, for example, about us having more contact with smaller cases so we can spend more time talking to our clients and their families and make sure that we progress their cases as quickly as we can, so that typically a legal case like this may take 3 years to resolve, but 3 years is better than 10 years or 8 years, which can be happening with other firms.
One final question. For me, my accident was a truck hit me at 65 miles an hour, air ambulance. It was a really definitive moment, but I've met a number of people who've had his phone nicked, fell over and banged his head, and it's a small accident, but the effect on their lives, I speak to someone I'd never met before, and there are so many parallels in our experiences. So if someone has had what's deemed as a minor accident and gone to A&E and been, you're fine, but then how do they know to then come to you guys? Do they think they should come to you guys?
We have had quite a lot of success with these type of cases, typically where there's nothing to be seen on a scan, and we've managed to win a lot of those cases. But very interestingly now is a company that we're working with that really at the cutting edge. It's Innovision IP, and they take scans, and it's the way that they take the scan, but also the sort of computer programming behind it, where they can actually see microscopic injuries, this diffuse injury, which would not be seen on any regular scanning that you would get when you go into hospital. And I can imagine that's going to be very different, because at least we've got the acknowledgement and the diagnosis that something has happened.
So someone's made it, and they want some legal advice and want some legal help, and they've said, right, the brain injury specialists are Coulthursts. What can they expect in the first meeting with you guys?
We always like to go and meet the family, and I say the family, or whether we have more than one meeting to meet the individual, but I think it's important. It's important that everyone that's affected, and indeed there's more than one person that's affected by this, gets to meet us. Because quite frankly, we're going to be part of their lives for a little while, so we've got to make sure that we get on. But we go and see them. There's no pressure. We try to understand what's most important to them, because quite frankly, it's often not necessarily the legal case. It can be work, school, all these different things that are going on. There may be some very sort of urgent needs that are going on, maybe liaising with the police. So we go and see them. It's a very open conversation, and we just try and work out what's most important at that moment in time, and let's see if we can deal with that. And then we'll make a plan, so you can see the general plan, but what's important at that moment, let's deal with that, and then let's see the next thing that needs to be done. Some of this really is just good support to start with. We don't get too complicated at that stage. There's lots of other cognitive rehabilitation that will be brought in, and we would of course bring in who we believe are some of the leading specialists to help you with that. But I think it just starts with just some very good support to work out where you are and to take those steps together.
Well, James, thanks very much indeed for supporting us. Really looking forward to working with you as we go forward.